Hey there, does this look familiar to you? Well, it certainly should. This is just like the one that you did yesterday. So take it out if you still have it from yesterday, and we're gonna just review what the shapes are. So clearly these are plane shapes. If you remember, plane shapes is just the one-dimensional on a piece of paper shape as opposed to the three-dimensional object that becomes an actual block or something of that sort. So let's say this is a circle, triangle, rectangle, this is the new one, trapezoid, and hexagon. Yay! Not super hard. Yours should have looked like this, and I'm sure they were all so fabulous. If you didn't have the right colors, you told me which colors you were doing, and that's fine. If you came over to this side, I hope that you came up. I know I saw a bunch of great ways of doing this yesterday, so nice job. You could have divided these this way. You could have also done that all the way down and divided it again this way and come up with a whole bunch of little rectangles. As long as you had rectangles in the box, you were good to go because you used little rectangles to make a big rectangle. All right, and this one you were to use little squares to make a big square. So here would be a good choice to do it. You could have also done that again if you wanted to make a whole bunch of little squares. Those are rectangles, so that doesn't count. But if I were to do this, I would have had a whole bunch of squares making a square. Wow! Lots of different options. This last one was really fun, and I only wanted to show you this one part just because if you notice you had these two trapezoids, and if you put them together, they make a hexagon. But even on this one, if you were to try to do it in the corner, it doesn't quite fit. So if you notice that they actually fit together almost like doors chomping, chomp, chomp, really nicely. And this is fun to use your triangles. You all did this beautifully yesterday, but I just wanted to remind us again that we can use smaller triangles to make up a square. This same idea is what we're going to be looking at in our math book today and in another lesson, but I know that you were asked to go around your house and find some of the different shapes. Find some of these shapes. Particularly, I asked you to find something that was a trapezoid and something that was a hexagon, and those are challenging. I'll show you what one of the ones was that we came up with in our house. One of the things that was an interesting thing to notice, let's see if I can fit it on the video here, were the sides, the edges of this frame, because they came up here and then went across and down. So you ended up with, if I can turn it just right, you ended up with what looks like a trapezoid shape right there. Interesting places to find the shapes. Hexagon was a particularly tricky one to find. However, if you were to find any kind of nut, if you look at the nut, you have 6 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can also use one of these bolts. 6 sides. An interesting way. A lot of tools and a lot of connector pieces are in the hexagon shape. So maybe check your dad's tool bench. That's a good place to start. At this point, I want you to take out your textbook to this page right here, page 281. And we're going to look at this and notice that, kind of like yesterday, you can take a bunch of shapes and put them together to make new things. Now, how many of you have ever done that with Legos? Yes, me too. Circles, triangles, squares, rectangles, trapezoids, and hexagons. How many of these shapes can you find in this picture? Well, let's try. How many circles do you find? Go. All right, we should have found 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 circles. Triangles, go. 1, ding, ding. Oh, 2. Squares, go. You should have found 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, maybe only 5. Just 5. How many rectangles? Go. This one's tricky. All right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 rectangles. What about trapezoids? Go. Go back. I missed these rectangles. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I missed those. You probably got them. Okay, trapezoids. Okay, we have one big one here. And another orange one that's upside down here, or that's right side up. Either way, flip it, flop it. So we have 2 trapezoids. How many hexagons do we have? Yep, 1, 2, 3. Pretty fun. Okay, so that's pretty fun to notice that that is kind of what God does everywhere. He puts all these different shapes together to make new and exciting things. I want you to now close this textbook and open up your workbook to page 229, please. I want you to take your pencil at the top. It says draw lines on each figure to show how it is made with these shapes. You're looking to make with shapes of a triangle, a square, a rectangle, a trapezoid, and a hexagon. Please underline those. So if you notice, this shape was here, the outside shape, and they drew a line right here and right here to make 2 squares and a rectangle. So we have squares and rectangles. We have a square and a rectangle. We're going to do this next one together. You're going to cut out of this so that you only have triangle, square, rectangle, trapezoid, or hexagon left. You're not going to have all of them, but you'll have a couple. So if I draw a line right here, do it with me. I've just made a square. Check. Well, that isn't anything. It's not a hexagon or a trapezoid or anything, but if I do this right here, I have now cut it into another square and a triangle. So I have squares and triangles. Perfect, I'm done. And then you're gonna take this shape and you're gonna draw a line or 2 or 3, depending, to make these shapes fit, some of them, so that you have those shapes in there. Here, same thing, okay? So you're gonna play around with those, drawing lines to split them into any of these or more than one of these at the top, okay? Turn the page, please. Here you are doing the same idea. Each of these shapes in here are going to be made up of 2 other plane shapes. So this figure is made with a triangle. If you were to notice, you could draw a line here and you would see that there's a triangle sitting on top of a rectangle. And so they have written triangle and a rectangle because those are the 2 shapes within. You are going to make sure that they are spelled correctly. If you don't know how to spell triangle, rectangle, trapezoid, hexagon, guess where you find them? Just turn back over. Your spelling is coming from here. So you're going to figure out which 2 plane shapes are making this up. What 2 plane shapes make up this figure? What 2 plane shapes make up this figure? Spelling counts. On page 231, here, this is an interesting situation. Hard to understand. A part is missing from each figure. Color the shape that makes the figure complete. It tells you what the figure is you're trying to make. You're trying to take this and make it into a square. So which of these 4, if you added it to this shape, would make this a square? Well, obviously, if you were to shade in, this is the answer, because if you picked up this square and set it right here, it would fill it in and make the entire block a big square. Do you see how that's working? This is the same thing that's happening in your next hexagon. You're going to turn this shape into a hexagon. So you're missing something in this shape. Which one of these would best fit over here to make it a hexagon? Shade that one in. You'll do the same thing for page 232. Same idea. Do not go on, because this is a hexagon that says stop. You will not do page 233. You will stop right here at number 11, and you'll take some pictures of that and turn it in, and you are good to go.